a lot of people look at smokers as like not having willpower and not having any control of themselves. Like they're just like weak-willed or that type of thing. But I think the reality is that people smoke to have control. Why am I going back? What am I trying to get out of this? And am I getting it? And I was able to see the strong link between my negative self-talk and smoking. That was always what led me back, was just like an overwhelming feeling of self-hatred because I was just talking horribly to myself.
Thoughts are racing, spinning fast, ideas flow, but never.
Today's episode: the trap of pure willpower, routine as control, the reality of symptom swapping, shifting from feeling to sensing, and Jessi's health wake-up call.
Rambling on, no straight lines. Welcome to my busy mind.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Ramblings of a Busy Mind. I have Jessi Hartnett here with me, a author, podcaster, and quit smoking coach. And I know a little bit from what we're talking that your overwhelm has to do with you becoming the quit smoking coach, as far as I know. But I would like you to tell me a little bit more, tell the audience a little bit more about yourself, what you do, how you do.
Sure thing. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here and to talk to you. And it was actually really exciting to know that you have experience smoking, because sometimes I talk about stuff and people have no idea what I'm going on about. So it's always nice to connect with other people that have walked that path. And yeah, I was a really diligent student. I kind of went in this path where I was studying science and going into that male-dominated field that was very competitive. And it ended up being very difficult on me to fit in, to belong. And so I worked extra hard, and that kind of led to burnout and went in a completely different direction, became a mother, married my husband, well, reverse that order, and started a family life. And starting a family really ignited my creativity. And I found myself writing a lot again, which I completely forgot that was the thing that I loved and enjoyed, because it didn't seem like it was worthwhile or efficient, just to have that creative outlet. And through my writing, I kept coming up again and again as my experience with addiction. So that's how I ended up writing my book. And as I was writing the book, getting out in the world, talking with people, I realized I really love connecting. I've always kind of fallen into this kind of introvert, quiet, hard worker thing. And so it's really been a step out of my comfort zone to talk with people. I love it. I love talking. Started my podcast where it's mostly other people talking. It's a story podcast, but it's just so nice for me to express myself and to be seen. And it's something I never really imagined for myself.
Starting the podcast can be overwhelming too.
Oh, yeah.
And to this day, I fall into the pattern of, oops, I didn't record for this week. So, or
Yeah.
I didn't reach out to my guests that have said they wanted to come on and I forgot to answer. That happens. Yeah, no, it's interesting. And with the smoking, yes, I did smoke. I started smoking when I was about 14, I think. Yeah, around that time.
Same.
I got to a new school and all my friends were smoking, so I started smoking. And I'm always somebody who does stupid things full heart. So, oh, you don't smoke it? Yeah, I'll smoke it. Okay, so I started smoking, like, not just, we call in Germany, we call it puffing. So you just pull in and just blow it out right away instead of pulling it into your lung. But no, not for me. I guess I got to start it all the way. And then with 21, I stopped smoking because I got tonsillitis. And again, my boyfriend at that time was saying, oh, either you smoke the cigarette completely or you leave it. And I said, well, then I'll leave it. And that's how I stopped smoking. It's not that it was a conscious decision. It just happened. And probably wouldn't have stopped smoking if I hadn't had that tonsillitis. But yeah, no, I think instinctively and intuitively things happen to me when I need them, and then I'll do the right thing if I listen to my body.
Yeah.
or become stubborn.
Yep. And that just shows the power of a decision too. It's like, I'm going all in this and then I'm done. That's like really what it takes. Is like, I look at smoking a lot different than other people. It's like this physical addiction, medical perspective, like treat it as a disease, take a pill, take a patch to get off. And I think it's so much more of a mental framework and the way we feel emotionally, the connection we have with it emotionally, and sometimes a spiritual crisis. I find for many people, just not having that self-worth, not having a
You
sense
could,
of,
yeah, you could shift that over to now I eat sweets when I'm not well.
yes,
Or
exactly.
I twiddle. I for the longest time I was known folding. Like we would go out at night and I wouldn't smoke anymore, so I would fold boats out of my chewing gum paper. And years later I met somebody at a party and he said, I saw you at the club. You were the one folding those boats. I'm like, mm, don't want to be known for that. I don't know. But yeah, that was my outlet that kept my fingers busy because that's
Yeah.
basically what it is. Or having that pen between your fingers, or eating all the time, which then came later with the burnout.
Well, that's interesting. You took that creative outlet. That I feel like that's a healthier way. It's like, let me make something instead of
I
destroy
wish I wish it
myself.
would have stayed on and not the food come in later on.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no, and I hear you. That's what I found with me with the burnout and then working with other mental health challenges. Well, no matter what label you give them, part of that is that you're not connected with your body. You're not grounded, so energy cannot go anywhere, and everything manifests in your brain. So you start thinking, 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 and you have no outlet. And once you get into a balanced state of where you listen to your body, where you see the cues that come in and allow the intuition, want to call that gut feeling, whatever it is, if you listen to that, then things become different.
Absolutely. And that's what happened with me with that big shift because my health was declining. My mental health, my physical health, and I was like, what is going on here? And really it was that rift with myself where I was trying so hard for that external validation and the blueprint that everyone else had, like this is a successful life, but it's like, am I not happy? Why am I so miserable? And I feel like that's was really tied to my smoking. It was a strange thing. It was like a reward punishment thing. And it was kind of me punishing myself for not being who I really was or doing what I really wanted to do. And at the same time, rewarding myself for working so hard. Like that was the hardest one for me to drop was the after work cigarette. And it was just, and I also smoked a lot of weed too. So I would get high after work and to
Yeah.
not have that after work was so hard because it's like, that's my reward,
Well,
So,
I never touched weed until I was 49,
okay.
50, something like that. And I still to this day I don't do it. Well, I gotta say I do it habitually when I go out, which is once a month or two every second month. When we're out and I don't have to drive because usually I drive myself home. So I don't do alcohol or as little as possible alcohol. And I shouldn't say that. I keep it in the limit, not as little
Yeah.
as possible, because that can be a lot. But I don't do weed when I drive.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time, and part of that was in Germany where I grew up, everybody smoked weed with tobacco. And I didn't want to fall back into the cigarette habit. So I didn't
Interesting. Yeah.
touch it. Here in Canada, it's very common that people smoke it just the butts or just the greens. And then I said, okay, I'll try, which the first time was very interesting because I didn't do well with the strain that I was smoking. So I sat for an hour and didn't move anymore because every time I moved, I felt like on a boat. I'm like, oh no, thank
Too
you.
much.
So
Yeah.
it took a little bit, and to this day, I don't do edibles because they don't work for me. Well, but I'm not opposed to say call it imbibe or whatever, with limits. Know your limits and know what you're doing and do it consciously and cautiously, not just for fun, right? Um, but yeah, I hear you there, because habits are bad to break. When we were 16, 17, we would drink every weekend. And we would drink competitively because it was fun. In Germany, you could get beer when you were 16. So you would drink, who can drink faster, more, um, with bad effects on the body. Like I started stuttering. I started having kinds of blackouts that I didn't know what I was doing, like going into a room not knowing, and that was 16. not knowing what I wanted to do there. And then thankfully I saw the signs on the wall and stepped back from my friends at that time and didn't drink for a whole year. And after that, I have days where I can drink with no issue, and other days that I cannot even take a sip and I know I'm gonna be sick. So again, knowing my body, knowing the signs and not forcing it down. Right. What job did you do at that time? What field were you in?
So I studied science through college. I wanted to be a geologist, and I went all sorts of tracks because it was during that 2014 time when it was just so hard to get work. So I was like interning, working with fish, and somehow wound up into land survey because I really did enjoy mapping. And so land survey is about finding property boundaries, building, developing properties like construction, that type of thing. So it's
Mm.
really, really intense. It's high stakes. Uh, if you make a mistake, it could cost $1 million.
Especially if you're
It's
working for a big company.
yes, yes. So it involved a lot of precision, a lot of attention and focus, and very high pressure. And the nature of the field is very competitive, even amongst colleagues. And so, I had a very fortunate. I had a great mentor in the beginning, but then as he moved on, it was difficult to find any connection with most of the men that I worked with. It's also can be very physical at times. If you're putting stakes in the ground to, take measurements off of construction, you're swinging a sledgehammer, and I could never keep up with the guys. So it was always humiliating for me to the physical aspect, but then it's also very intellectual. And it was just a very stressful job for me. It was very well paying. Like I said, I had all these, things to show for it. It's like, look at all this money I have. But then when you're just spending it on drugs, on drinking and pot and cigarettes, it doesn't really fulfill you in any way. So it's just like great to have more money to de-stress. That's what I thought it was at the time. It's like, oh, I need to, relax and decompress from this difficult work. And so I was like, maybe I just don't need to do this difficult work. So that was a big shift for me.
What was your impetus to change?
Not feeling well really kind of slapped me in the face. Like, so I started, probably the biggest thing was I went to the dentist. I hadn't gone in a long time and, just didn't think it was worthwhile. I wasn't responsible and went to the dentist. She's like, well, maybe we can see for your teeth. I was like, excuse me. So what happened was I had advanced gum disease and I didn't even feel it because nicotine has and smoking anything, smoking pot does this as
Yeah.
well. It has a numbing effect on the blood vessels in the mouth. So I couldn't tell that anything was wrong, but
Mm.
they were infected, they were decaying. And so I had to go into all these surgeries and they're like, you need to quit smoking, you need to quit smoking. And I was like, okay. So I was making these efforts, but honestly, there was times that I was smoking with stitches in my mouth. It was just like this has gotten out of hand. And so that was like a big wake up call for me to really push myself. And so I was practicing quitting using willpower, which had worked well in school. It had worked well in my career to push through and ignore yourself and your needs and just work, 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 go, go, go. But it did not work with smoking at all because of the emotional component was so strong that
Mhm.
it would always end up feeling when I had a bad day, when I had a rough day emotionally. And so that's like, I really had to start working with that side of things and get curious, like, why am I going back? What am I trying to get out of this? And am I getting it? And I was able to see the strong link between my negative self-talk and smoking. That was always what led me back, was just like an overwhelming feeling of self-hatred because I was just talking horribly to myself. And like I said, that's the way I had been successful and competitive in school in my career. And I realized like this isn't a place I want to operate from anymore because it's hurting me.
How did you grow up?
I grew up as an only child. I grew up around smoking was in my house. It's pretty
Yeah.
independent. Um,
Because I
I
always wonder if when you talk about things that like the drive and the self-talk and how often does stuff of that like the baseline, the seedling of that is usually with most people in their childhood, how they grew up and how they've been
yeah.
trained to talk to themselves or how they've been talked to, and the expectations that family had on them and stuff like that, um, which creates us basically and trains us to be the way that we are, right? I mean, I had a very loving family, but still we had our issues, and things that happened, and to this day, there's sometimes stuff popping up that I go back and say, oh, now I understand why that happened.
Absolutely. Yeah, we all go through those childhood wounds, but most of the time our parents didn't intend it. It's just the nature of things. It's not like, oh, bad parent necessarily, but it's just it has to happen. I'm trying to accept this as a parent myself now. It's like as much as I try, there's always going to be an inadequacy. And sometimes we overcompensate for our childhood, so it's like I'm very protective of my daughter, not wanting her to be exposed to the things that I was. And then I realized I'm like, man, I'm limiting her from connection and from going out in the world and being brave. And I'm like, I don't want to make her scared. And the Rapunzel story. So it's like there's no way to win with it. So acceptance is part of the deal, but definitely I received so much praise for my hard work and for not showing weakness or pain. Like if I got hurt and I didn't cry, it was like, oh, what a strong, brave girl. And so
Yeah.
I really like took that to the extreme. And
Yeah.
something I still struggle with,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah. No, and no blame to the parents. Like I often think like my poor mom. These days I realize what I've done to her
Oh yeah.
and that she still got us to where we are today. Because a lot of the foundation that I see in myself has been placed by my mom,
Yeah.
or by the grandmothers. But the part being is like, yeah, we put her through hell. Definitely. So yeah. So sorry, mom, if you hear that. Yeah, no, it's very humbling when you look back and I mean I'm 55, so I could be a grandmother right now, basically. Um, but looking back at how you've been as a child brought up and how some things got installed in you in that age, either parents or teachers. I just had a conversation with somebody that a religion teacher screwed up religion, like believing that you believe into something. I thought I was an atheist because she screwed my picture of spiritualism absolutely.
Hmm.
um and it's interesting then when you go back and you see where's the block and how late that block in your life can still be active and holding you back in achieving things or pushing you to achieve things that you don't even want to achieve,
Right.
right? Putting you in that overwhelming stress again. Um, would I use cigarettes as a way out? No, not anymore. No, is that something I don't? But can I get away from sugar right now? No. So there's the other addiction, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's depending on what my mental and emotional state is. Not so much my physical, but the mental and the emotional state is depending on or is creating the addiction or the habit of reaching to something that's comforting or
Yeah,
creating the break that the smokers get while the non-smokers don't get it, right? That's the other part.
absolutely. There's so many little benefits that we come to appreciate about it, and it's learning to integrate those in your life. Like you can still take a break, even as a non-smoker, you can still go outside, And I just love that you brought up the self-care, like that impulse to reach for something externally is driven by what's going on in your internal world. So if I take care of myself and I'm really prioritizing my care and my mental health and I'm good, it's when I let something go, that workaholism, that perfectionism sneaks in and I can't it's so overwhelming and it can't really fight it. So then it's like, let me escape this. So it's all linked together. Absolutely.
I posted that I go to Tim Hortons to work because there's no distraction. Like there's three things that happen for me in my home office and in this office here. It's distraction by pets that want something. Right now he's snoring on the table. Second one is there's a fridge you can go to when you don't want to work. And the
Yeah.
third one, it's too quiet in here. I am an extrovert, so I know I need people not to talk to me, but to walk by, to have movement in the room. And then I can plug in my earphones and I sit there and I work away and I get so focused that I don't even see people come in. Last time somebody sent me a message sitting right in front of me, is this you? And I didn't even like I didn't recognize her. And she was writing. I was so focused on my
In the
work. And
zone.
then I
Yeah.
looked up and looked at her and she said, you're very concentrated. I'm like, yes. But yeah, it's getting to know yourself. Where do you function the best, right? and then
Absolutely.
make it easier. But yeah, the fridge is definitely a distraction for me sometimes.
Yeah, I can
Um,
understand that.
you have, I don't remember the right wording that you had, but you said something that you would tell your younger self if you could talk to that person. Do you remember what that was?
Just now?
Yeah, well, no, you put that in the questionnaire.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not sure what I written, but the first thing that comes to mind is that it's okay to be yourself because I really felt, or that you have worth. I think that's like the fundamental wound that when we're talking about childhood wounds. I don't even know if someone told me this or, just being a kid, you draw your own conclusions about, you kind of make things, you make truths to explain the world around you.
Mm.
And so one of those truths that I made for myself was my worth is based on how much I do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would love to tell my younger self that that's not true, that you just have inherent worth, that every person has value. You don't need to earn it. You're born with it.
Mm.
And that has made such a difference in my life where I can allow myself to be present, to rest, to care for myself and not be so limited by that. It's something I still struggle with. Like I said, I have this conversation almost daily with this voice in my head that's like, go do something. What are you doing? You're lazy. It's still there, but I'm just like, no, thank you. Or I hear you, but we're gonna, I intentionally make time to not be productive, especially as a mother, like I said, I would miss out on my whole experience with my child if all I was doing was, cleaning the house and caring for her and doing my business.
You are productive as a mother when you play with your child. There's no way around that because you're actually creating something for your child. So that's, I don't think any mother is ever unproductive when they take time off with their child because they're still working with their child, right? That's
Yeah.
something that's totally undervalued. But I hear you in that, and I was wondering, how do you install that in your kid that it's not valued by just the success, the supposed success, but that she feels valued all the time? How do you install that?
It's hard because that tendency comes up in me so much to overpraise. I try not to overpraise. I'm really kind of subtle with it. She'll look to me for approval and I'll do a smile and nod, but I don't do the dramatics with it where it's just like, oh my goodness, great job, you did it. And I try to softly encourage her when she's struggling. I try to, I'm not sure what the word is. There's some word in child development where you're kind of like laddering with them, where you're kind of pushing them to do a little bit more than they're comfortable doing, but you're not throwing them in the situation. You're not throwing them in the deep end where they absolutely can't do it. So I kind of try to like push her to try things on her own, but I'm there if she needs it, if she's just too overly frustrated. But it's not so much about like accomplishing doing it, it's the process of learning. And I allow her to express herself. So I feel like sadness and anger can make us really uncomfortable as parents. But she, she came out as a baby. She was pretty angry, pretty sad, and happy. Like these are just human emotions. They don't have the value necessarily that I've come to put on it. Like I said, I feel like me smoking was a huge part of me emotionally numbing the anger and sadness I had. So I allow her to express it. I don't try to flame the fire with it. I'm not just like, try not to react. I think the biggest thing is not just being overreactive, like kind of just being that calm, regulated presence as much as possible, just to
Mhm.
show her that like this is safe, this is okay, we're gonna get through this. And yeah, I mean, I'm just doing the best I can. I'm not perfect. I have days where I'm impatient, I'm short-tempered, but I apologize for that too. I think that's a big step where it's like I can explain like, yeah, I lost my temper. I'm sorry about that. That's what that was. I think I'm just trying to model for her what it looks like to have some regulation and how to bounce back and be resilient when you lose it.
I find a lot of times if you can own up to your mistakes and if you teach kids that it's fine to own up to their mistakes, it takes a whole new role in their life instead of going, I have to be the overachiever and I cannot, instead of being able to say, Mom, I really failed
Yeah.
or I've really done wrong. What can we do? Can you help me fix it? Or this is how I want to fix it. If we don't install that as a example, like if we don't live it, how are kids supposed to learn it? And that's something that I find is sometimes in the younger generations missing these days, because and I don't want to call it cuddling, but it's almost like they talk made everything beautiful, like everything is fine, everything's good, blah blah blah. And how are those little human beings that are maybe now later on teenagers or twins, like what do you call it, tweens? Yeah, whatever. If they never learn to take responsibility for what they're doing, if they never learn to own up to the world, because this is the generation that's gonna care for us later.
Yeah.
And if there's a generation that doesn't know how to honor their own mistakes and faults, they're never gonna evolve into something that's reliable and responsible. And also really looking for communication between people, because they're always gonna try to whitewash whatever they do, which then leads to gaslighting and so on.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
there's
hard thing to find balance with. Like I said, we're always overcompensating for our own parenting. So my parenting was very dramatic. And so I just try to like kind of be matter of fact with and make the reaction match the situation. So it's like if there's a glass of spilt milk, it's like we get a towel and clean it up. It's not
yeah,
we're not going to freak
not
out
good.
about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I like I even ask her, I'm like, what do we need to do? And she knows. She goes and gets the towel. It's just very matter of fact. I think like that's what I'm going for. And like I said, maybe that'll come off cold. We can't foresee what, and see, it seems like the child, it's like almost, it's mythic in a sense. It's just like the right parent to wound the child in the right way. I don't know why it has to be this way, but I'm just trying my best and try to be mindful and
I
intentional.
find it so cute when you say that. It reminds me of my mom. My grandmother was a very messy person, very disorganized, chaotic. My mom is overcompensating for that, for always wanting to have cleanliness, structure, whatever. While I am more like my grandmother, I can be chaotic, but the fun part is I know in my chaos where is something. As soon as I start cleaning up, I don't find anything. It's all gone. It's disappearing on me. And then I was looking, that was so funny. I had a friend here help me clean, and we were cleaning up, and it took me 3 months to find my remote. And I know that I didn't do that because that's a place where I would never ever put the remote. The remote would be close to the TV somewhere. She put remote and the remote for the heat pump on a shelf very high so that I didn't even see it.
Oh yeah.
But that's just like, yeah, no, that's not a place where I put it. So I knew I didn't put it there, because also I gotta admit I lost the phone in the pantry because it ran out of battery and then I forgot to get it, and so I couldn't call that up. Yes, that happens too. Mainly when I'm really in burnout and really, really stressed and overwhelmed, then I put things and I forget. But for the most part, I know where my stuff is. I might not, it might doesn't look like it is there, but I know where I put something and I can find it.
Yes.
But otherwise, it's like in loop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
organized chaos. I understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. I told the story last time to somebody. I said, well, my parents put a sign on my door. And it said, the genius conquers the chaos. It took me 3 days to find it because the door was always open. So yeah. No, it's and again, that's signs that your mind is not in a place where it can cope with stuff. When I was really, really caught in the burnout and just starting to come out of it, I realized the pattern of OCD that I couldn't walk past a painting and straighten in it. And I had the need to come back to the house and check if I turned off the stove. And it was really bad. I would have to go back 5 times and check it. And that meant sometimes driving back 25 kilometers to see if it really turned it off.
Wow, yeah, that's hard.
And then I'm sitting there a couple of years ago. I sit there on my couch and I look at my paintings that I have on the wall and I go like, oh, you're crooked. turned around and did something else. Next day, look at it. Oh, you're still crooked. Didn't bother me at all. But
Yeah.
it's your mind that tries to hold on to safety, to keep you in that safe space that makes you do all those things to keep them in a straight line. And those are the first, like not the first, they're actually pretty bad late indicators that you're completely overwhelmed, because it doesn't happen from today to tomorrow. It happens over years that you get into that state of overwhelm that you cannot cope with certain things. And then you get the labels, and the labels are, no matter what the labels are, it basically comes down that you are in an overloaded system.
Yeah, I think it's perfectly natural to reach towards control when we don't feel like we have it. And it's interesting with addiction, like tying it back to smoking, because a lot of people look at smokers as like not having willpower and not having any control of themselves. Like they're just like weak-willed or that type of thing. But I think the reality is that people smoke to have control. It's very meticulous and kind of OCD. It's like I have this many cigarettes and I smoke it at this time. And there's like such a orderliness to it that I see it as a form of control. And it's like, it's when you're overwhelmed by the outside world. It's like, I can't handle all those things that are happening outside of me, but I know I can smoke and I know I can affect the way I feel with it. And our brain comes to expect that. And it's a relief. I feel like that's where the stress relief part comes from, because as I was doing this testing with smoking to see what I was getting out of it, or what I thought I was going to get, and was I really getting it? I found that I was actually more stressed out after smoking. My heart rate was crazy. I had all these like racing thoughts and just kind of jittery and scattered. And it wasn't really that reduced the stress. It was the relief of like, this is what I do when I'm stressed, like having something to control with it, and that you could count on again and again and have that pattern. The pattern was the comfort for me, not the actual smoking itself.
Yeah, and that's true. And I just have to cut in here and do
Yeah.
a shout out to the audience, because I completely forgot.
Oh
Wow,
yeah.
almost 30 minutes.
Uh-oh.
Um, if you like what you hear, to the audience, if you like what you hear, if you find any value in what we're talking about, please share and like and follow and help us spread the word, because this is what the podcast is for people to find a different perspective, to find some value in our stories that helps them not to have to live the same way, or to get out of their own stories faster. Yeah. So yeah, back to the part of holding on to something, having a pattern. Basically, the secret for me was, oh, I can get out of the office. Oh, I can do this. Or I can, yeah. It's your way to have a reason to get out, get away. Not that it really helps you, but it's like the cup of coffee that doesn't help you and you still go and get it, because that means you're allowed to get away from the desk for a second and get your coffee.
Yeah.
Right. So what tools do you use with your clients? What methods do you do, like, for them to come to a better place mentally, emotionally?
It all starts with self-awareness. So it's wild how much we operate on autopilot. We just go, go, go. And we never took the time to sit and ask why and to get curious. So that's really the first step to any of the work, is building that self-awareness. And it takes practice. It's so much harder than you would think to slow down, to ask why, to just make space between you and doing the impulsive thing. And so there's so many different ways to do that, but I like to use meditation. People can find their own ways with it. But for me, it's really important for me to have time of stillness. And then I can start to hear that self-talk and those different parts of myself, the conflicting parts that boss me around all day. If I didn't know what they were doing, I would have never noticed. Like the self-talk was like very distant to me. I wasn't even aware of that voice. I was just operating on it, living. And I assumed that everyone lived this way. And I assumed that there was no other way to live. So it takes awareness to recognize it. And then you can start to make choices like, is this the kind of talk I want to be running my life? Is this the kind of belief that actually makes sense anymore? Even though it made sense when I was 10 years old or however, and we could start to pick apart the things that are holding us back and then choose a new way to be. And so that's part of the work with too, is like visualizing the future that we're going towards and using imagination and intuition to get there. So I feel like smoking cuts off our creativity in so many ways. And one of it is that we just only know one reaction. Like I said, I was talking about that pattern. It's just like whenever I have a problem, smoking can help, but there's so many options available that to meet that need. So we become aware of the need. We figure out if how we want to get there, if we want to make new needs or find new ways to be, and then it's about using creativity to find different solutions to the problem that we're trying to fix. But it's also two part because part of it also is acceptance. So it's accepting that some stress is okay and
Mm.
natural instead of just being like, I need to get rid of the stress, I need to get stressed. It's like, well, how can we sit with the stress more? Because honestly, the things that we resist the most are the things that we become closer tied to. So it's kind of complex and it's really individual based because people are so different. People have different needs, different wounds. And so that's why I really promote the intuition as the greatest resource because it will help that person, you know you best. And so if you can learn to connect to yourself and follow that voice and take it seriously and practice using it, then you're going to find your own way to a lasting way to quit.
Yeah, we have a similar approach. I usually help to find them where they are physically tied into stuff. So because physically everything manifests in your body anyway.
Yes.
And energetic connections to people's places, situations will manifest on your body. You can find them when you look for them. So we visualize the energetic connection to something, a pattern that comes up that they don't like to see, so they want to change. And then we talk it through and I ask them to physically find in their body where they tie in. Again, it's the awareness part. But what I found, having had the mental challenge of burnout for so long, I was so disconnected from my body that I didn't see the cues that I couldn't. Like you could have told me anything. I was totally in my mind. I was not being able to tie into gut feeling. I was not able tying into anything. And that came back with the energy healing. Once I learned energy healing, I started to slowly listen to the cues. And I started realizing that you get the energetic cues every time in your life, any day, everything comes back with some kind of energetic cue. And then you can start responding instead of reacting when you learn how to work with them. And how you learn your own, basically your own translator for energetic cues. Once you tie into that, your intuition opens up and there's no way around because my gut, for instance, when I work with somebody or somebody works on me, I often get messages for them. So something needs to be said. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it comes from. I don't care. The only thing I know is if I don't speak it, and that's my gut feeling that clenches, then if I don't speak it, I get nauseous. So I tell them what needs to be said on my side, and then I leave it. It's theirs to take or not,
Yes.
because I just need to get it off my system. And if somebody's open for it and can work with it, then fine. But it's still not my part to follow up on that because it was never the message for me. If it's my message, I usually get the like that, the wake up call. I always
Yep.
say it's my father slapping me on my head and my grandmother's tapping the shoulders. But yeah, that's basically learning to listen, learning to see where it's going and what's going. That's
Yeah,
the
just
biggest part.
just stepping into the power too is such a change that, like I said, I didn't know that I could change. I really thought that this is just who I am. And then it's amazing how much we can change when we allow ourselves, and then we're actually meant to change, not to stay the same. Because then we can't, it's like a tree has to lose its leaves every winter. Like we got to let some stuff go so that we can thrive and renew. And yeah, so that's been a huge change. So I like to use myths because I feel like ancient myths are really helpful to tap into the psyche and to understand ourselves better more and what it really means to be human. Because a lot of the stuff hasn't changed with time, even though we have technology and all these different kind of lifestyles. At the core of what it means to be human is still the same. And so that's why I stress tapping into the heart rather than the mind. Like you
Yeah.
said, being so stuck in the mind, that's where overwhelm and burnout comes from. But our heart knows how to guide us back to a life that is fulfilling and peaceful, calm, easy.
Yeah, and we are trained from school. Like that's the biggest challenge my generation faces. We were, and I think quite a few like ages after, we were so trained to be in our mind. We were trained to be the mind people. We were trained to everything had to be analytical. Everybody, like, you had to be able to theorize about everything. You had to be able to put it down, whatever you want to call it. And it was so interesting when I started taking the sound courses, like the singing with the singing bowls. One of my colleagues said to me, he said, "I cannot believe that you can do the work." And I looked at him, I said, "Why?" And he's like, "You're such a brain person. And you do fabulous work, but you're such a brain person." And the fun part in that was really that I was not able, I felt so much like a charlatan when I started talking about the singing bowls in the beginning, because it felt so esoteric and yeah, kind of weird for me. And then
Hmm.
the longer I went with it, and then therapeutic touch came in the energy healing, and all of a sudden I understood it's quantum physics. It has physical background, and a lot of my language today in explaining the work that I do or done is now bridged by my understanding from the physical world and my understanding from this metaphysical world. But everything has influence with each other. And when you start looking into every memory stored in your whole body, in every cell, and every emotion is stored there. So yes, chronic pain flares up because the emotion is still stuck in there. Your body remembers, your body goes into the same situation. What does it do? It tightens up. It tightens up. What happens? You fall again. You have tight muscles, you have neck problems, you clench your teeth. It all comes back down. Your history is in your body,
Hmm.
and you never release the emotions in all of that history. You carry everything with you, and not only yours. That's the biggest part. You carry the memory from everybody in your ancestry because you're the sum of all of their memories in their cells. It's all been handed down. So, yeah, sure. Thank you. Can we change that now? But
It's a
the
lot to carry.
awareness,
Yeah.
when the awareness is there, you can start tying in and you can start working with. We have wonderful tools these days that work with that. Reflection is a big part, meditation is a big part, and then find what works for you. And it's same as you. Not every person is the same. Not every person works the same. Not every person reacts the same. Not every person resonates with everybody. So find the people that work with you or work for you. I'd say with you because you have to take part in your healing work or in your healing journey, because if you're not part of that, there's no healing.
And it's mutual. That's what surprised me the most from moving from being like an author and kind of doing my own solo thing to actually working with other people is that the healing goes both ways. As they heal, I heal, and as they learn, I learn. And it's been such a beautiful experience. It really feels like it's mutual. I don't feel it's a different relationship than school with the teacher and the student, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. It should be a togetherness. It should not be a top down.
Yes.
I share my knowledge with you, but you share with me what you learn and bring in new input and bring in new experiences by what you learn from what I'm teaching you. Right. I love teaching because every time I had students learning what I teach, it was a new experience for me. It was, and I know when I learned therapeutic touch, for instance, we had quite a few things that changed that are working now this way because I brought it up. I said, I work it this way. And my teacher went like, "You do?" I said, "Yeah, because it's easier for me. I'm a visual person. I can, whatever it was, right? To the part that we had to change wording because my mom doing wonderful treatments, no, sessions, not treatments. We don't do treatments, sessions. She was very frustrated because she could not work with the word, "What do you feel?" She thought she never felt. Once we switched to "What do you sense?" What comes to mind, all of a sudden the whole gamut opened up for her because, oh, and this is this color, and this is hot, and this is cold. Well, you're feeling, yeah, but there's no tingling in my fingers. Yeah, but you still get so. Changing the
Yeah.
language opens up the playing field, right? And same in any work that we do, like you with your clients, when you don't have the right language for your client, you will not achieve anything because they don't hear you.
Yeah. You want to get that feedback that, and sometimes you won't be understood and that's okay too. It's okay to just let it go. That's what I've realized too, is kind of like with the ego. It's like, well, this is my message and it needs to be understood this way. And it's not that way at all. People will take different things, just like the myths. The myths really highlight what's going on with the person. And it's some people have ticks that I had never even considered. I'm just like, wow, like I did not think that it was about that, but it's not about that for you. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's really cool to let people take what they come, and I'm okay with being misunderstood right now. It's of course I want to make myself as clear as possible, but I'll just drop it and try something else. It's like, okay, whatever. I'm more willing to let things go, and that's very different from my past life where I was just, very, like you said, analytical. It's the answer is right. Or debate class where you have to prove your point and then convince them. So it's a whole different deal. And I really enjoy it. It's a different way to connect with people on a whole new level.
Yeah, I think as people working with others and trying to help them find their way, we have to leave our way out of the focus. Like it has to be about them. It has to be on their level. It
Yes.
has to be in their language. And if we cannot speak the language, then maybe we're in the wrong place. Or we cannot, if we cannot find a different way to explain what we mean, then we're not the right person for that person. It's not that we're not in the right place teaching what we're teaching or helping others, but it might not be right for that person at that moment. And yeah, no, it's like I love the work with others because again, it's always humbling and it's always um an eye opener, as you said yourself, like the learning curve that we have as teachers or guides or coaches or mentors or whatever you want to call it. The learning curve in one-on-one work or even in group work is always amazing. Even the podcast lately has been, in the beginning I was so focused on getting the podcast out and trying and whatever. The format has changed since I realized I cannot talk about burnout the way that I did because people who are in burnout, they don't resonate. They don't see they're in burnout. They resonate with overwhelm and stress. So who doesn't have overwhelm in their life?
Right.
Right? But when you stand changing the language, then all of a sudden all these new opportunities come up and new possibilities to explain things. And for instance, you coming on as the smoke quitting smoking quit smoking coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, my language leaving me.
It's fine.
um I found it also interesting that I had lately a lot of people who are talking about religion. And I was the first one who approached me. I was very, very cautious of myself having that big block. And I said, I talked to my VA and I said, I'm not sure if I can do him justice. But we had a lovely conversation and it's showing me my boundaries, it's showing me my limits and then making me choose if I want to live in them or if I want to overcome them, if I want to challenge myself to grow further and become bigger. And that's what I love about the podcast and having all those different people on there.
Yeah. It's a huge part of my podcast as well because it's all story based and it's you can't tell someone they're wrong with their story. So and I'm very open when I work with people that you can quit however you want to quit. There's no, prescribed way. Like I said, it's really about intuition. If you need to wean, go ahead and wean. If you want to do patches, that's fine. If you want to stay smoking weed, but you want to quit cigarettes or vice versa, whatever your needs are, that's what we're going to work with. What you truly want. But with the podcast, it's just been interesting because there's all differing opinions. Like there's, particular books that I don't care for that people like swear by and some people they go to the vaping and then they find that's even more difficult. That's not a route I went myself at all, but it's so cool to see people's own journeys with it. It might be something completely different than what I experienced or what I would recommend, or, it's just, but I'm very just been open to it. And those stories impact people in different ways. Like everyone's story is medicine for some person out there. And so that's why I love the podcast so much because it really helps open more possibilities than just my own personal views and experience to people that want to quit. They can really find themselves in any story out there. So,
Stories have become, again, thankfully, our way of educating.
yes.
And it's sad to see that it had to take hundreds of years to go back to that, but it's the best way to relate, right? And having the opportunity to tell our stories, having the opportunity to have conversations like this is great. I love it. It's the best thing ever.
And the vulnerable stories, especially. We get a lot of stories in consumers culture, but it's always like the excellent version. It's like, oh, I took this thing and now I'm amazing. It's always from rags to riches. And I don't find that it's got the depth of connection as someone that's been laid low. And it's you want that redemption in it. It's great, but sometimes people like they're honest. Like I said, like I still struggle with workaholism. Even though I quit smoking and I've done all this work, it's something that still comes up for me all the time. And that's like real, so I'm
It's
not a
it's
guru
like
here. Yeah.
it's like me finding a new thing like social media or whatever it is, like where I can run my head to the ground and dive so deep into the rabbit hole that I get completely lost because I get so overwhelmed. And often it's like I have to do, I have to do, I have to do, and now I go like, yeah, I should, but no, I don't. Because I
Yep.
know exactly if I start that rabbit hole again, I will not be able to pull myself out. And it will take it, I know the signs earlier, but if I ignore that, if I start ignoring them again, um, I'm not true to myself. And I'm not doing myself a service. Does it happen? Yes, it does. Sometimes on purpose, because there's circumstances where I think something else is more valuable than or needs more attention than my needs need to be kept at the moment. But it's not for a long time, and I always make sure that it's in a safe space, right? Do I have always control? No, definitely not. But again, I have coping mechanisms and I have ways to take myself out of the picture for a bit and just cope. Right now, I hate that I cannot really walk because I took my knees out as the first one and then the other, which means I cannot really go to the ocean with my dog. So today was one of the first times in 3 weeks that I went down to the beach, which is 2 minutes from my house, but I have to be so careful. And then still I went into the water and enjoyed it immensely when I finally got down there. But the thought alone that something might happen on the way down
Hmm.
was already putting me in stress. So rather, instead of going with the dog, I was sitting on the couch. Not good, but we're coping. We're trying the best to do whatever in a safe way, right? And that's the
Yeah.
biggest part, knowing your limits, knowing where you come from. And then yes, you can bend the rules once in a while. Not so much with the smoking because you might fall completely into it, but everything else you need to have your backup plan where you have the people that work with you that help you get back on the wagon. Right.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point to bring up is that with the relapse too, because there's always something to be learned from it. That is such a source of shame with people, and it was for myself. That's where that negative self-talk really came into play, where I would just berate myself. I'd just be like, "You're the worst person ever. You're weak. You're stupid. All these horrible things." And when I was able to take that judgment out of it and just get curious, like, why did I go back? Why? Like, that's changed everything for me. Whereas I was more detached from this moral judgment of myself and just got curious. And it's just like, oh yeah, because I don't know how to handle stress. Maybe I should work on that. Like it gave me clues to find other solutions and to really care for myself in a deeper way
Yeah.
other than just fight myself constantly. And so I
Or
like, go ahead.
it's the one like, oh, I need to ask for help.
Yeah. Yep.
That's a big one.
Yeah. And I did have a lot of help along the way. Like I tried meditation, I tried yoga, and those opened up so much more for me where I could really get to the root of what I was feeling and why I was feeling that way. Like you said, going back to childhood wounds, going back to long patterns and recognizing like this is not something, this is not a new thing, this is not an isolated thing, and this is something I really want to work with and can. So yeah, I'm very grateful for the support I've gotten along the way. Support means a lot.
Supportive network or community is the best thing you can have in your life,
Yes.
whichever way that takes. Because if you have a network or the community, there's always some part in the community that can help in a different relation, different way that we usually don't see. Well,
And
when you have just one therapist that you focus on, it will be just a therapist and it will be this narrow path because you can only do that much, right?
right. And it takes getting out of the comfort zone because I feel like a lot of us that, do go through burnout kind of want to do everything ourselves. Like we're independent, we're hardworking, and it'll only take you so far. It really
We are the
takes,
overachievers that want to have
yes,
everything perfect. Oh yeah,
yes.
I know, I've been there. Oh, just so much fun and so much to talk about, and I'm really happy that you came in today.
Me
And
too.
we will share your story. No, we share your social media contact, whatever, that people can reach out if they're interested in working with you or finding you. And I'm really happy that we got the chance to talk today. It's
Thank you.
it's always amazing to see what other people do. And to the audience again, if you like what we talk about, if you're curious, reach out to Jess and find a little bit more information from her, or reach out to me if you have questions. And like, subscribe, share it to other people so they can find their way back into a happier, healthier life. And I'll see you in the next episode.
Thoughts are racing, spinning fast. Ideas flow, but never last. Waves of wonder, thoughts untamed. Nothing ever stays the same. Rambling on, no straight lines. Welcome to my busy mind. Ideas fade, all the shine. Oh, welcome to